Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from the UK. Today is Friday, the 29th of August, 2025. I'm coming to you after a long summer break. Essentially, I was only gonna come back next week when my son is back in school, but you know what? I've been knitting all these things and my creative juices are definitely flowing. My husband and son are currently busy upstairs, so I'm going to try to squeeze in a very quick episode. Just as it is about to get dark, we'll see how it goes. But at least you'll get a little bit of an update of what I have been knitting. So, essentially, since I last spoke to you at the end of July, we've wrapped up with my son's school. We worked through most of the summer, but we were in Germany for 3 weeks, thanks to my parents babysitting while I and my husband worked. And then we took a week's break near the Alps as well. So yeah, we've been back a week. It's been craziness as it is if you are working from home with a child at home who doesn't want to go to holiday club for various reasons, which is not possible. Anyways, I have been knitting. I have 2 finished objects, none of which I can show you. And I honestly don't have the time to do fancy video editing, so you'll have to take my word for it. I finished my pink sort of stripy mini skein socks that I was making out of some mini skeins from Spectrum Fiber. And if you have seen, you may remember Summer Lee Designs used to have a colorwork cuff sock club. So she did that all of last year, where you got a little colorwork chart to go with a basic sock pattern every month, and she has recently started a second year of that, except this year it's not just colorwork. So the first sort of freebie pattern that came with that pattern subscription was a plain vanilla sock with some cables, just some very simple cables at the top ribbing. So I made a pair of those as well using some Mondschaf yarn, but both of these pairs have been gifted, so you'll have to take my word for it. I did knit some socks. I believe I also have some other sock kicking around, but honestly, I don't even remember anymore. My head is I'm just feeling a bit mad, and I haven't really touched any socks since we came back. And maybe I think I don't even have a pair of socks on the needles. How crazy is that? So anyways, instead of talking about fictional knitting that I can't show you, let's talk about what I can show you. In attempting some kind of chronological order, I'll show you this first, this is my Osaka scarf, which is a pattern by Ito Knits, but arguably is just a tube of mohair. In fact, the original scarf is not a tube, it is knitted flat, but I and many other people on Ravelry are knitting it as a tube because it is much easier to knit, and the overall effect, once it's scrunched around your neck, is going to be pretty much the same. So this is my Osaka scarf. I picked the yarn up at Loop London a couple of weeks before we left. I showed it to you. I'm using 5 skeins of 20-gram Ito Sensei mohair, which is beautiful. And since I last showed it to you, which possibly I was here, maybe not, I have started the 3rd color. So I am about halfway through this one. And I was going to take this for travel knitting, and then I changed my mind because I really wanted to make a second one. And I realized that this yarn was actually much more affordable in Germany than it is in the UK. In fact, I found some on sale. So this is the yarn I'm talking about, Ito Sensei. So instead of buying more for a second one, which I'm sure I would have done anyways, I decided to buy some more and get it shipped to Germany. And that way I didn't have to bring that much yarn to Germany, and I had a project to cast on as soon as I landed. So this is my Osaka scarf number 2. And if you're thinking, it's kind of the same colors, trust me, this one will be a lot more color blocky. I was going to go for like a full palette. I really wanted like a sort of pumpkin orange one, but I couldn't really find the colors that I liked. But while this one looks very sort of pink again, it is going to be pink. I'm also going to throw in this yellow. I will admit, I was hoping this, I think it's called mustard. Is it? Yes. I was hoping this would be a bit brighter than it is. But yeah, this one, as you can tell, I'm not doing any kind of fading. This one is going to have a bright yellow in there, and then this beautiful red. And of course, there is some more pink. But I think the overall look on this one will be different to the other one, which is more sort of toned down. So yeah, I have 2 Osaka scarves on the go, which is slightly mad. I have no expectation to finish any of these anytime soon. I should probably focus on just one, but I've just been working on this one randomly because that's the one I had while I was in Germany, and since we came back, I've basically only been working on one project, and then this whenever my brain couldn't handle that complicated project anymore, which I'll show you in a second. So yeah, 2 Osaka scarves. For both of them, I sized down on the needle, so I'm using a 3.25 millimeter needle with 1 strand of mohair, and they will be amazing when they're done. I'm really excited for them, but obviously it's very plain. I think this may be good train knitting as well. So I think that's also why I haven't really been doing any socks, because this sort of fulfills that same craving for mindless stockinette. So for example, yesterday I took my son out for like a day trip, took a day of work, and we went to a new to us play cafe, and I just sat and knit on this. Right, so those are my Osaka scarves, but I am in a scarf cowl, things that wrap around your neck sort of phase, which I won't show you the yarn that I bought in Germany, but let me tell you, I bought a lot of yarn for sort of accessories and cowls. How am I going to wear all of them? I don't know, but I was just feeling it, and I am quite happy to say I did not buy a sweaters quantity in Germany. I just bought like odd skeins here and there, because it's German yarn and I won't be there probably for another year, so I did stock up a little bit. And on my very last day in Germany, my sister wanted to go to the yarn store because now both of my sisters are crafty, which is amazing. So this was not my idea, but we went, and of course I found a whole bag of yarn behind a counter, like hidden away, that I think she hadn't even put in the shelves yet. And I fell in love with it. And this is this yarn, which is Lang Yarn's Infinity. And every single skein of this colorway looks completely different. So she only had 2 colorways, and essentially they're all over the rainbow. And I thought that was really cool. You may remember last time I went to Germany over Christmas, I bought some similar sort of color changing yarn, but that was from Rico, I believe, or Wolle Rödel. I think Rico yarn bought at Wolle Rödel if you're German. And I made a brioche scarf. And this is sort of the same idea, except I would say this is much softer. This is a 100% merino yarn. It is a DK weight, I think, 260 meters. So between a DK and a sword, I suppose. And instead of casting a sock on for the trip home, I started another brioche scarf. So I just cast on a bunch of stitches, ripped it out a couple of times because it was too wide, and I'm not sure if I'm still making it too wide, but I'm just going with it now, and can you see the colors are completely bonkers. I go back and forth whether it's too crazy or whether it's pretty cool, but I do like sort of the flashes of color. I think it is very fun. So yeah, I started this. Yeah, I don't know. I was knitting on it quite a lot, and then I sort of got over it because I got stuck with another project, which I'll show you in a second. But yeah, that is another project that I started. No pattern, just a plain brioche scarf with using just the one color, so no 2-color brioche. And I'm using 3.5 millimeter needles, which are probably too small for this project, but they are literally what I had with me on the trip. And it makes for quite a sort of tight brioche fabric, which I do really like. It is a bit of a pain to knit, but I think often brioche tends to be a bit sort of loosey-goosey, and this is feeling really, really nice. So if I do persevere with this, I think it would be a great scarf to have. So yeah, I got 3 skeins. The lady in the shop said like between 2 and 3, and I really hope even 3 will be enough. I'm not sure if I got the best advice there, but I just see how far I get with 3 skeins and 300 grams. And if it's not enough, I will turn it into a cowl, because I think it would actually be a cool cowl as well. So we shall see. I'm kind of racing through these because I know my son will be back very, very quickly from upstairs, but I just wanted to give you an idea, and then we can have a more in-depth chat next week. So my 2 garment projects that I wanted to show you, and no, I'm still not working on my Olga sweater. My sister has almost finished hers, but so be it. I decided to take a lightweight garment project to Germany because the Olga sweater is heavy and it needs a lot of skeins. So instead, I think I showed you last time I talked to you, I decided to cast on yet another rendition of my favorite black anchor sweater that I keep lending because I wear it all the time. So this is the Anchors sweater, my size, by Petite Knit. I use the DK weight pattern, but I use it with a strand of JC Rennie Super Soft, which is a 4-ply. And after washing and wearing this a million times, it just fuses into like the most beautiful garment. I've told you about this many, many, many times. It is my favorite. So I decided to cast another one of these on with the same yarn. So this is JC Rennie Super Soft. I believe the colorway is called Confetti. No, actually it isn't. I don't know what the colorway is called. I will look it up and tell you next time. I used the Confetti shade, I believe, for my traveler vest. And then this one is like Heather Rose, something like that. It's like 1 shade darker than the Confetti. And last time I showed this to you, I believe I was just on like the ribbing at the top. And I'm quite happy with the progress I made on this. So this is, again, the Anchors sweater by Petite Knit. And as you can see, I have finished the ribbing yoke. My lighting is kind of funny, I'm sorry about that. But all the yoke bits are finished, and then I always throw in some short rows after this section before I then do the tiny bit of raglan increases. So short rows are in, raglan increases are in, I split for the sleeves, and I've done, I don't know, 6 inches on the body. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. I haven't tried it on, but it should be fine. I like the color. I should try it on. But that is another holiday project that I worked on quite a bit. And then the most exciting bit, and the bit that basically meant I wanted to film today to show you, is I don't know if you remember, but around Christmas time I got myself a kit for a new sweater pattern, a new colorwork sweater pattern, for which I can't find my gauge swatch anywhere. I wanted to show you, but I got myself the yarn to knit the Iris sweater, which was at the time a very new colorwork sweater pattern by the designer Trin Anneli. And I got the original color kit, which I think was the only kit you could get at the time, and she may have released different color options, or maybe that was just for the hat version, I'm not sure since. But I just got the original color combination. I'm missing 1 skein of yarn because my phone is literally balancing on it. But yeah, I got the kit, and then I felt really bad because I just never got around to casting it on, and I knew this one was going to be a quite intense project. So I'll show it to you very quickly, and then I'll talk to you about it. It looks a mess, but this is the idea. So it's got this beautiful all over colorwork, which is going to go all over the sweater. So it's very intense, especially given that this is on a 28.5 stitch gauge. Well, at least it should be. I think I am ripping out stitches, and I am doing it on a 27 stitch gauge, and I adjusted the sizing slightly for that. But essentially it is a garment knit on a very tight gauge using very fine Holst Super Soft. So if you want to know about the colors, just look at the pattern. I am using literally exactly what she used. I am knitting the second size. I was very torn between sizes because my gauge was off a little bit, and even the smallest size would have given me quite a bit of positive ease. But I really like the really massively oversized versions of this sweater. So I'm going for something like 39 centimeters of positive ease, which is not something I usually do. But yeah, we will see. It is obviously a lot more knitting. But yeah, this project is interesting. I will say, I think it is incredibly well written. It is also incredibly complicated. So I have knit quite a few colorwork sweaters in my life. And essentially it's a top-down colorwork sweater with 3 steeks, one for the neck opening, which I have cut open, and then there are steeks on either side for the sleeve. But the way she does it, there is a really beautiful and also really annoyingly complicated cast on, which took me at least a day. And you get all the instructions there. Like, the instructions are full of information and they're actually really good. So if you just trust the pattern, it will be fine. It's just sort of, you have the instructions, and then you have a file for the charts, and then you have a file for video tutorials, photo tutorials for the cast on and a couple of other techniques. But yeah, so doing the cast on and then the short row setup for this took quite a long time. And then finally I was set up to do, like, put in my steeks, like figured out my chart placement. And honestly, ever since, it's been a dream. It is a really fun, beautiful pattern to knit if you like colorwork, if you have some experience. I wouldn't recommend this as your first colorwork project. There is floats to catch. There's quite a lot of things going on, but actually trust in the pattern, like everything works really well. And yeah, this is where we're at. So I want to do a tiny bit more on the front. And then I'm really keen to get the neckband in. The only thing I'm wondering about is the original has a lighter cream / almost off-white used for the ribbings. So for the neck, for the sleeve ribbing and the bottom ribbing. And I want to trust her because it looks good in the pictures. But then I'm also thinking, should I order more of this color, which is a nougat colorway, and make it in the same cream? I don't know. But seeing as I got the kit, I'm going to look at some more pictures, but I might just go with what I have. But yeah, so this is my iris sweater. I think you can sort of see where it's going now. In the beginning, it was just like so many strings hanging off my needles. But now you can see it's going to be a sweater. So I'm very, very excited about this. And honestly, I've just been knitting on this nonstop. I started it the day, basically we got home on a Friday. And then on Sunday, it was my son's 5th birthday. And we also threw him a party at our house. So that was completely mad in the first place. And in all of the party prep, I decided to cast on this sweater, which, yeah, I don't know what that tells you about me. But yeah, I've been basically working on this nonstop, except for when I'm just like too tired to knit on this while watching telly, and then I've been working on my Osaka scarf. I think that's basically all I have to tell you about this. I am using, I believe, 3mm needles. Yes, I do think I am. Is this even important for you guys? It is on my Ravelry page. And yeah, it's going quite well. I've made one mistake so far where essentially I was just working off the charts, and the charts are really like useful. I mean, obviously charts are useful, but in terms of the increases for the neckline and so on, once you get to that point, basically you can just follow the chart, which is what I did, and I didn't read the pattern properly, where it says after row 23 out of a 24 row chart, do this, and I didn't. So essentially I just basically split for the neckline and bound off neckline steek stitches and then cast on new stitches 1 row too late, and had to figure that out with the charts. But essentially it was quite straightforward. So yeah, that is the inside of my sweater. It is very messy, but a lot of these ends will just go onto the steeks, and I like the look of floats on both sides. I think they look quite nice. So yeah, that is the long-winded story about my iris sweater, but I do think this one deserves some airtime because it is really, really pretty, and it's obviously one of the more intense knits that I'm doing at the moment. What this means is that I was going to make my Christmas sweater and I didn't. I was gonna start that in summer and clearly I didn't. And the yarn that I'm using for this is going to be the contrast color of my Christmas sweater. So at least I'm using the yarn for something, and I'm using the JC Rennie off a cone, which I should have mentioned anyway. So I'll have enough to do it anyways, but there's only so many garments one can have at the same time, especially colorwork garments. So while I'm working on the iris, I very much doubt that I will cast on my festive yoke number 2. And it could well be the next colorwork project once I finish this, but how long is it going to take me? I mean, I guess I knit all of this in less than a week, so it is possible to finish it within like a month or 2. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm also going to be this monogamous or almost monogamous on this knit. So we shall see. But at least I've got 2 fun sweaters on the go, and I also desperately need to finish my Olga sweater, which is nowhere near finished. And it would be a handy project, a handy sweater to have, but yeah, let's see what happens. So yeah, that is basically all the very last minute knitting stuff that I cobbled together for you guys, because I was planning to record next week and not today. Certainly not at like 7 p.m. But yeah, I just wanted to give you a quick update in terms of our trip that went really, really well. Somehow it was a long time to be away for, 3 weeks, and before going on the trip, I often doubted whether it was going to be too long. But it also went very quickly because we worked for a week, then we were off in the Alps for a week, which it was so beautiful there, but it was also so hot there. It was like 30s every day. And we were staying in my in-laws' holiday apartment in like the 2nd floor of a 2nd floor building. So it was 30 degrees inside and 30 degrees outside, because just like the UK, we don't do air conditioning in Germany, which is, yeah, it was quite warm. And that also meant some of the plans I had for hiking and doing all the things didn't really work. It was more like hanging out, trying to do things very early in the mornings and going to the swimming pool. But it was very, very nice nonetheless. And like I said, I did pick up some yarn along the way. I had a weird time shopping yarns, to be honest, in Germany. Because you know me, usually I go into a store and I fall in love with something, and I'm not super decisive, but I usually know what I want. And throughout this entire trip, I never knew what I wanted. And I think I put some pressure on myself to get the things that I couldn't get in the UK, especially knowing that we are not going to Germany for Christmas this year, which I don't think I've talked about. We're gonna try a different version of Christmas. So yeah, I don't know. I picked up not massive amounts of yarn. I did pick up some yarn, but in hindsight, I feel like I picked up some very random bits of yarn. A lot of sale yarn. But yeah, it will make an appearance sooner or later. I picked up 2 balls of sock yarn from Laine du Nord. I think that's how you pronounce it. A French name for what apparently is an Italian company. At least that's what the store owner told me. Because that is the sock yarn that I've been wanting to try for a long time, and it's hard to get here in the UK. And yeah, otherwise just honestly weird bits and bobs for accessories. And I got some sale yarn that was really, really fluffy for like £1 a ball to make a cowl and hat for my son. And yeah, I just have all the knitting plans in my mind now, because can I say it? It is so autumnal already here in the UK. It's been raining, it's been cool, like the leaves are turning. Like I am so ready for it. I love fall. And I also really love back to school vibes. And obviously my son is going back to school next week, the end of next week. And he's really excited about that as well. And I will at some point have some days off as well because I need to use up some leftover holiday time. So I just want to sit and knit, and I want to knit him stuff, which I haven't done in a long time, mostly because he wants socks. And if I knit him socks in April, by the time he needs them, he'll have grown out of them. But now is the time to do all the knitting. I want to do all the hats and socks and scarves and all the things. I just honestly don't know when. But I also haven't really had like a minute of time to myself in 6 weeks. So I think once we all go back to our routine, all of that should become a lot easier. And yeah, I just want to hunker down with tea and knitting. And yeah, the knitting juices are definitely flowing. So yeah, that is a quick 26-minute roundup of what's been going on in my knitty life. I shall be back with you sometime, probably in a week's time. Do let me know what projects you are working on and planning. Are you also very excited about the autumn? And are you planning projects for autumn? Like, do you have something planned? I am very, very curious to find out. I definitely have a couple of things that I picked up just because they're like autumnal, and even, I mean, dare I say Halloweeny? I'm not even a Halloween person, but I think I'm becoming one. So yeah, let me know what you're thinking about. And I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are doing well and you are safe and healthy and have some yarn to play with. Thank you so, so much for tuning into my podcast. I shall hopefully see you very, very soon. And until then, I hope you have a lovely weekend. Happy knitting. Take care. Bye.